Discover the heartwarming story of the nanny who changed a millionaire's son's life forever. Emma stood under the vibrant cherry blossom trees in her quaint suburban neighborhood, their delicate petals dancing in the breeze. She was a single mother, fighting to provide for her little girl, Lila. Every day was a struggle, juggling 2 jobs just to make ends meet. But staring into Lila's bright blue eyes, Emma's heart swelled with love and determination. "I'll do whatever it takes," she whispered to herself. When the opportunity to work as a nanny for the wealthy Hayes family knocked on her door, Emma felt like a fish out of water. The sprawling mansion stood as a monument to opulence, far removed from her small, cozy home. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, greeted by the shine of marble floors and echoes of laughter from the children. Then there was Tyler, handsome, tall, and trapped beneath the weight of his family's expectations. At 16, he wore designer clothes and lived in a world teeming with the latest tech. But in his eyes, Emma could see something else, a longing for freedom, a yearning to escape the gilded cage he was born into. Initially, Tyler looked at Emma as just another pawn in the game of his life, someone who would merely tend to his younger siblings. But there was something magnetic about her grit. As she shared stories of her struggles, her laughter shining through her hardships, he couldn't help but lean in. "Why don't you ever wear anything nice?" his friends would scoff, mocking his budding friendship with Emma. Each time insults were hurled, a knot tightened in his chest. Couldn't they see how real she was? With her, the world was stripped of its glittering facade, revealing the raw pulse of humanity beneath. Meanwhile, Emma faced challenges of her own. The Hayes family questioned her effect on Tyler's character, worried his association with a working-class woman would tarnish the perfect image they crafted. As days turned to weeks, the tension simmered. Would their worlds collide, or could something beautiful bloom amidst the judgment? Just when it seemed their bond might break under the strain, a scandal erupted. Rumors whipped through the mansion like wildfire, fueled by jealousy and entitlement. Tyler found himself at a crossroads, suffocating under the weight of whispers from both his friends and family. In the height of chaos, something unexpected ignited within him. He couldn't sit back any longer. With his heart racing, he stood up at dinner one evening, his voice clear and defiant. "Emma is good for me. She sees me in a way you never have." Everyone fell silent, eyes wide with disbelief. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emma's heart fluttered with hope and disbelief at his boldness. Tyler's act of defiance resonated not just with her, but with everyone watching. For the first time, he was fighting for something genuine, not because society dictated it, but because it was right. Yet, even as their connection began to break down the walls between their lives, another challenge loomed on the horizon, one that would force them to confront their true selves. Could Tyler redefine his identity? Would Emma's dreams survive in a world so determined to keep them apart? As they stood on the edge of something immense, the weight of possibility hung heavy in the air. Where would their choices lead them next? The evening air was thick with tension as the dinner party wound down. Tyler stood at the far end of the long table, his heart racing, trying to process the shock in everyone's eyes. He had never spoken out like that before. It felt both terrifying and freeing. Emma caught his gaze, her expression a mix of admiration and fear, and he felt a rush of something that seemed to wash away the chaos surrounding them. Wanted to say more, to explain just how much Emma meant to him. But before he could gather his thoughts, his parents jumped into action. "Tyler, you don't know what you're saying," his father barked, his voice echoing in the grand dining room. "This is not how we conduct ourselves. We have certain standards to uphold." His mother's eyes narrowed. "You don't truly understand her world. It's not safe. You're not safe with her." But as they spoke, their words felt hollow, echoing continuously in Tyler's mind. He closed his eyes for a moment, focusing on Emma's laughter, the warmth of her smile slowly displacing the coolness of the mansion. "Mom, Dad," he said, swallowing hard, "you don't get it. It's not about safety or standards. I feel alive when I'm with her. I want to know what that feels like." The silence that followed was deafening. It felt as if the world was holding its breath. Emma, standing a few feet away, looked like she might burst into tears. Tyler's heart swirled with an overwhelming mix of fear and hope. What if they turned him away now? Before he could second-guess himself, he stepped forward. "I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. You see these friends?" He waved his hand dismissively. "They don't see me. They only care about how I fit into some perfect picture." His voice rose, trembling with emotions he could no longer contain. "Emma sees me. She's the only one who does." The room remained still, eyes darting nervously from Tyler to Emma. Just then, a small voice broke through the tension. It was Lila, hidden behind the doorway, clutching her favorite stuffed animal. "Mommy? Are we having a fight?" Emma rushed over to scoop her up, kneeling to her level. "No, honey, it's not a fight. Just adult talk." But the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Tyler felt as if he were drowning. He watched the little girl, her innocent eyes filled with confusion. "I don't want a fight, I want a happy dinner," she said, her words hanging in the air like a prayer. In that moment, something shifted within him. He realized he had a chance to be more than just the son or the friend everyone expected. He wanted to be a force for good. "I care about this family, and I want to help. But I can't do that if I'm chained to expectations." As he met Emma's gaze again, there was something stronger than hope. It was determination. He turned back to his parents. "Can't you see? I'm not looking for approval anymore. I'm looking for love." Emma's heart raced at the earnestness in his words. For a fleeting second, it seemed the walls around them began to crack. Just then, the door swung open, revealing Mr. Hayes, Tyler's father, a towering figure imbued with authority. "What is going on here?" he demanded, filling the room with his presence. Tyler's pulse quickened. This was it. The moment of truth was upon him. Did he have the strength to stand firm against the empire that sought to control his heart? The darkness lingered in the atmosphere, ripe with uncertainty. What if this was just the beginning? Emma thought, glancing at Tyler, whose defiance was palpable. The room held its breath, waiting for the next words that could change everything. Could their fragile bond withstand the challenge ahead? Would they be able to carve their own path, together, against all odds? Tyler held his breath, the charged silence stretching between him and his father like an unsheathed sword. Lila's giggle faded, replaced by a looming uncertainty. He could see the flicker of emotion in Mr. Hayes' eyes, a mix of defiance and, strangely, a hint of vulnerability. "Redefine what family means," Mr. Hayes muttered, his voice barely rising above a whisper. "Do you even know what that entails?" The challenge hung there like a prize waiting to be claimed. Tyler's heart raced. This was the moment. Did his father dare to confront his own beliefs? "Maybe it means accepting love in all its forms, not just the one you've boxed up all these years," Tyler replied, determination swelling within him. "Maybe it's about understanding happiness in a way that isn't dictated by the outside world." The room felt heavy with history, every corner bearing witness to generations of expectations. Emma felt the tension shift, a subtle energy crackling like static. She squeezed Lila tighter, urging her to stay quiet, but Lila's innocent gaze was still fixed on her brother, her small world unsure of what to make of the emotional tempest. "You're asking me to throw everything away?" "My entire legacy," Mr. Hayes shot back, leaning closer. His voice was a low rumble, but there was an edge of desperation to it now, a crack in the armor. "Do you honestly believe that pursuing some fleeting joy will lead to anything real?" Tyler's mind raced back to the laughter he shared with Emma, the way they talked about dreams while stargazing. The warmth that Lila brought into his heart. That was real. It's not about throwing everything away. It's about finding what truly matters to us. You've built this whole world around expectations. Can't you see how lonely it is? The words hit hard. Mr. Hayes stepped back, his shoulders dropping slightly as if the weight of Tyler's proclamation bore down like a tidal wave. He looked to his wife, her face pale, fear and sadness mingling in her eyes. "Don't do this to yourself, Tyler," she implored softly, but her voice seemed to tremble against the strength of her son's resolve. "I'm not doing anything to anyone but living my truth," Tyler declared, his voice resolute. "Your truth?" Mr. Hayes scoffed, yet the words fell flat. A moment of silence enveloped them, thick and palpable, as Tyler faced his father. It was no longer about wealth or reputation, it was fighting for his own identity. In that moment, Emma saw the battle within Mr. Hayes intensifying, a war not of anger, but rather one of powerful emotions colliding. Fear of losing his son, loss of the familiar, the terrifying idea of vulnerability, it was all there in the creases of his brow, the twitch of his lips. "Maybe," Mr. Hayes began, his voice softer now, barely audible as he took a step back. "Maybe I don't know what happiness looks like not anymore." Hope pierced the darkness, shining through like a ray of sunshine breaking a stormy sky. Tyler's heart lifted, realizing that perhaps, just perhaps, they could navigate this uncertain territory together. Lila's soft voice broke through the moment. "Can we have cake now?" A ripple of warmth spread through the room, connecting them in this small, sweet desire. Tyler chuckled despite the gravity of the situation, his heart lifting. "Yeah, maybe it's time for some cake." But before he could move, Emma's heart pounded in a different rhythm. They were tiptoeing on the edge, and uncertainty still lingered like the aftertaste of an echo. What if this was only the beginning? What if his father wasn't ready to embrace the change Tyler was daring to present? As Lila began to bounce with excitement, Tyler felt a fresh wave of determination flood through him. They had taken the first step toward redefining family, but would Mr. Hayes muster the courage to step forward as well? The unifying laughter of Lila filled the room, yet it wasn't as comforting as it should have been. Tyler looked to his father, hoping to see a spark of understanding. Was he ready to meet them halfway, or would they remain worlds apart? And just as that thought settled in, a knock rang through the tension, pulling all their eyes toward the door. Who could it be? What news did fate have in store for them next? The knock echoed, startling everyone. It was a sharp sound that cut through the fragile moment of tension and hope. Lila's excitement dimmed slightly, her wide eyes turning toward the door, its surface still and unable to provide any answers. Tyler exchanged a glance with Emma, nerves creeping back in. Mr. Hayes hesitated, looking between the door and his family, the uncertainty in his eyes palpable. "Let's just see who it is," he said, his voice barely above a murmur. He moved slowly, the weight of the moment hanging over him like a storm cloud. Tyler's heart thudded in his chest as he watched his father reach for the knob. Would this knock bring a solution or another layer of complexity to their already fragile balance? As the door swung open, a gust of wind swirled in, bringing the crisp smell of autumn. A figure stood there, shrouded partly in shadow. It took a beat for Tyler to recognize the familiar face, Claire, their old neighbor and a close friend of the family. She hadn't been seen in quite a while, and her sudden appearance felt too coincidental amidst their emotional storm. "Claire? What are you doing here?" Mr. Hayes asked, surprise and hope mingling in his voice. "Sorry for just dropping by unannounced," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Her warm smile was a stark contrast to the pressing atmosphere inside the room. "I felt a shift in the air today. Wanted to check in on you all. Sorry if I'm interrupting." "No, not at all," Emma said quickly, breaking the tense silence. "We were just..." She glanced at Tyler, uncertain of how much to reveal. "Celebrating Lila's birthday," Tyler finished, forcing a smile that still held an edge of anxiety. Cake is about to make a grand appearance. Lila jumped in, bouncing on her feet. You should stay. There's Cake. The invitation hung in the air, sweet and hopeful. Would Claire, with her buoyant spirit, bring a balm to the situation? I'd love to, sweet pea, Claire replied, her eyes sparkling at Lila. But I actually came to talk about something important. It can wait, of course, if you're busy. Tyler's stomach nodded. This didn't feel like a casual visit at all. He turned to his father, who stood rigid by the door. Dad, maybe we should hear her out. It might help. Mr. Hayes looked skeptical, but the gentle insistence in Tyler's voice seemed to touch something deep within him. He stepped back, allowing Claire into their living room, the door closing softly behind her. The atmosphere shifted again, a mix of familiar comfort and underlying tension clawing at their unity. Claire glanced around, her gaze lingering on the unseen struggles written on each face. Before we dive into cake and festivities, I've known your family for a long time, Claire began, her tone steady but kind. Some changes have unfolded recently that might impact you. Tyler's heart raced at her choice of words. Change. It was the word that hung so heavily in each of their actions over the past week. He watched as his father's expression darkened again, the flicker of hope dimming. Changes? Mr. Hayes echoed, his voice low and tense. Yes. I've learned about things happening in the neighborhood, things that might affect how we view our worlds, Claire said with deep sincerity. Tyler's mind spun. What could Claire possibly reveal that would change their world again? Would it deepen his father's fear or help bridge the gap between them? He noticed Emma's grip on Lila tightening alongside his own growing curiosity. Is it bad? Tyler asked, a lump forming in his throat. A silence settled, heavy like a mist rolling in. This was not the start of a regular birthday party. Something significant loomed just within reach, and the pieces began to twist and turn into an unforeseen direction. Claire nodded slightly, hesitation pooling in her gaze. It may not be as simple as cake, but it might be what we all need right now. As the weight of her words sunk in, uncertainty flooded the room again. Tyler glanced at Lila, who was blissfully unaware but watching intently. He felt trapped in the push and pull of anxiety and anticipation. What could be so important? And just then, another thought pierced through. What if this news held the key to unlocking their family's path forward? What secrets lay just beneath the surface, ready to shatter expectations? Claire inhaled deeply, gathering her thoughts. The room felt charged. Lila's bouncing presence was the only breath of levity. Everyone else held their emotions close, like tightly wrapped packages waiting to be unwrapped. Tyler felt the tension like a live wire, pulsing in the air. I've been hearing whispers in the neighborhood, Claire finally continued, her voice low. Some families are planning to move away. Others, well, they're not exactly leaving by choice. Mr. Hayes' jaw tightened at her words. What do you mean? He asked, his tone rising with unintentional urgency. There's been talk of a developer buying up properties, including yours. They want to build something big, something that might change the whole landscape of this area. Silence enveloped them again, heavier than before. Tyler's heart began to race. So, they want to push us out? He questioned, his voice shaking slightly. Claire nodded solemnly. Not just you. Many families are being pressured. They offer good money, but the homes? It's all a transaction for them. Emma's breath hitched, and Lila's bright face began to dim. But we can't leave. This is our home, she declared, voice quivering with confusion and hurt. Sweetheart, we don't know what will happen yet, Emma soothed, kneeling beside Lila. We can figure this out together. Tyler felt a flicker of anger rising in him. Together? What does that even mean? It sounds like a fight we can't win. Claire stepped closer, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. It's not hopeless, Tyler. Not yet. Many neighbors are rallying together to oppose this plan. It's still early in the process, and it's crucial to get involved now. His father, who had been silent, suddenly looked up, his face a mix of concern and fierce protectiveness. So, there's a chance to stop it? We can fight back? Yes, Claire replied, muster in her voice. If enough people stand together, they won't have the power they think they do. But only if you're willing to join hands with your fellow neighbors. Tyler felt a spark of something deep within. Was it hope? Cautiously, he let it bloom. Then what do we do? Claire smiled, and it felt like sunshine breaking through the clouds. First, we gather the families. I can help. We need a meeting, voices united. Your family is a crucial part of this community. As the words settled, Tyler felt the invisible ties binding them as a family titan. They had battled their own storms, but this was a different kind of fight, something worth standing up for. Okay. I'm in, he said firmly, looking from his father to Emma and Lila. They all nodded, the shadows lifting ever so slightly for the first time in days. Lila looked up, her eyes wide with hope. Can we still have cake after? Tyler chuckled despite the gravity of the conversation. Absolutely, but we'll need to draw a plan first. Cake will taste better knowing we're fighting for what's ours. Claire smiled broadly, the warmth spreading through the room like sunshine. That's the spirit. Together, as a family and a community. But even as excitement began to swirl around the possibility of fighting back, Tyler couldn't shake the knot in his stomach. Would they truly succeed? Suddenly, the front door creaked open, breaking his reverie. A figure stood silhouetted against the bright hallway light, and the unsettling feeling returned. Am I too late for the cake? It was Mrs. Johnson, their elderly neighbor, but her face showed a weight of worry that chimed with the atmosphere. What happened? Claire's voice shivered with urgency, and everyone turned, bracing themselves for whatever news was coming next. As the door closed behind Mrs. Johnson, and the silence settled back in, Tyler felt unease settling into his bones. Was this just the beginning of something bigger, or was the worst yet to come? And would they be ready to face it together as a family? Mrs. Johnson shuffled further into the room, her hands trembling slightly. I came to warn you all, she said, clutching her purse like a lifeline. This isn't just chatter. I saw the developer's sign going up on Maple Street. They're scouting properties, and I overheard them talking about demolitions. Tyler felt the air thicken, his heart pounding as reality began to settle in. Demolitions? He echoed, unable to mask the dread in his voice. Claire stepped forward, her expression hardening. When did you hear this, Mrs. Johnson? Just this afternoon. I went for my usual walk, and I couldn't believe what I heard. They want to clear the land for luxury apartments. They think they can just erase us, she murmured, her voice cracking. Emma squeezed Lila's hand, trying to shield her from the weight of the conversation. Lila's big eyes shone with confusion. But why? Why would they do that? Money, sweetheart, Emma replied softly. Some people don't care about homes or families. They only see dollar signs. A tense silence filled the room, suffocating and palpable. Tyler could feel the indignation swell within his chest, pushing against the notion that all was lost. We need to act fast then, he blurted. If they're moving this quickly, we have to gather everyone, talk to our neighbors. We can't just let them take our homes like that. That's right, Claire agreed, the fire igniting in her eyes once more. Every minute counts. We should have a meeting tomorrow evening, invite as many people as we can. The more voices, the better. What do we do though? Tyler's father asked. Sitting around talking won't change anything. We need a real plan. Gather information, Mrs. Johnson chimed in, her frail voice taking on a deeper note of resolve. Find out who else is facing pressure from the developer. We need a united front. They're strong, but we can be stronger if we stick together. As Tyler listened, the music of hope began to drown out the anxiety. Then let us do it. I can make flyers, spread the word through social media. We have to rally everyone before it's too late. Claire beamed at him, pride shining through her concern. That's the spirit, Tyler. This is where change begins, when people like us decide they've had enough. Suddenly, Lila piped up, her small voice cutting through the tension. Can we make posters too? I want to draw a big heart and say save our home. Absolutely, kiddo, Tyler replied, ruffling her hair affectionately. Every little bit helps. Together, we're a force to be reckoned with. But just as Tyler began to feel a spark of determination, something nagged at him at the back of his mind. What if they put up resistance? What if their fight resulted in more than just their homes being threatened? Mrs. Johnson cleared her throat again, dragging everyone's attention away from their chatter. One more thing, you might want to watch your backs. The developers? They're not the most patient people. They won't take kindly to this kind of disruption. An uneasy chill ran through the room. While they were ready to fight, the uncertainty weighed heavy, and Tyler punctured his resolve with a quiet dread. Were they heading into a storm they weren't ready for? As voices swirled with plans and ideas, Tyler couldn't shake the feeling that this fight could demand more from them than they were prepared to give. What if uniting the community stirred up something darker? Would they be prepared for whatever came next? And would it all be worth the cost? The next day dawned with an uneasy heaviness hanging in the air. Tyler woke up with a knot in his stomach, the weight of the previous night's conversation pulsing in his mind. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring blankly at the morning light spilling through the window. What were they really up against? He shook off the doubts and got ready, trying to focus on the plan. Tyler's phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was Claire, reminding everyone to meet at the community center that evening. They had flyers to print, voices to raise, and a community to unite. He felt a flicker of hope. People were waking up, and they might actually do something to save their homes. However, as he walked to school, everything felt different. The streets seemed less vibrant, houses looked dimmer, the usual laughter of children playing was replaced by whispers of uncertainty. Tyler's mind raced. How could their little neighborhood, once bursting with life and friendship, turn into a battleground? At lunch, he spoke with his friends about the meeting. We need everyone to show up, not just our families. This affects all of us, he urged. But some shrugged him off, absorbed in their phones or chatting about weekend plans. Their indifference stung. Did they not realize what was at stake? Later that afternoon, Tyler found himself walking past Maple Street. A large sign had indeed gone up, announcing plans for luxury apartments, bright letters mocking him. He stopped, heart pounding in his chest. This was no longer just a meeting, they were fighting for everything they held dear. Then he saw them, a group of men in hard hats, walking the street. They looked serious, peering into the houses as if judging them. Panic gripped Tyler for a moment. Were they here to start their business already? He felt a surge of anger. How could they come into their lives uninvited, ready to plow over their memories like they were nothing? Hey! Tyler shouted, surprising even himself. The men turned, brows furrowing. Leave our homes alone. You can't just take what's not yours. One man smirked, and the others chuckled quietly. Kid, this is business. Nothing personal, he replied, brushing Tyler off. Business? Tyler felt a rush of heat. How could they dismiss the lives intertwined in these walls as mere transactions? Just then, a voice from behind him called out. It was Mrs. Johnson. She had witnessed the scene unfold and rushed over, disbelief etched on her face. You can't just treat people like this, she exclaimed. They turned to look at her, dismissive once more. Keep it down, old lady, or you'll regret it, one warned, and with that, they moved on, leaving Tyler and Mrs. Johnson standing there, hearts pounding in shared frustration. We need to warn the others, Tyler said, his resolve hardening. This is bigger than I thought. That evening, the community center filled with familiar faces, each carrying a unique mixture of hope and fear. Tyler stood before them, his voice steady. "We have to be stronger now than ever." But as he scanned the room, doubt crept in again. Would they really come together? Would they confront what lay ahead? Suddenly, the door swung open, and in walked Claire, breathless but beaming. "You won't believe what I just heard." She was full of fire, and Tyler couldn't help but feel his hope rekindling. What could she possibly have found out that would change everything? They all leaned in, breath held. "There's more happening than we imagined. We can take them on," she exclaimed, her energy contagious. But just as the excitement began to ripple through the room, an ominous thought settled in Tyler's mind. Was it really possible, or just a fleeting dream in the face of looming shadows? And who would risk everything to make it happen? Claire's eyes sparkled with a fire that ignited the room, but Tyler couldn't shake the weight of fear settling heavily in his gut. The community buzzed with questions and excitement, yet in the back of his mind, the doubt loomed large. Were they really equipped to take on something so colossal? "All right, what's this about?" one of the older men in the crowd called out, shifting his weight as if ready for battle. "What have you found, Claire?" Taking a deep breath, Claire stepped forward. "I just spoke with Mr. Harris from the next town over. He's been through this before. He has some strategies that might work for us." Her voice was steady, convincing. "He said they look for weaknesses, something they think they can exploit. If we unite our voices and make it clear we won't back down, we can make a difference." A murmur spread through the crowd. Tyler watched as hope flickered to life in their eyes, but even as they rallied together, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of a precipice. "But what if it's not enough?" he asked, looking directly at Claire. "What if they don't listen?" Claire frowned but held his gaze firm. "We won't know until we try, Tyler. We can't sit back and let them steamroll over us." As voices chimed in around him, Tyler felt his heart race. This wasn't just about their houses, it was about pride, identity, and fighting for the life they had built together. He thought of his family, of all the laughter shared in their backyard, the barbecues, the late-night talks. They couldn't lose that. Okay, Tyler shouted, his voice rising above the crowd. "Let's form a plan. See what we can do together." A wave of agreement surged through the room. People began taking charge, discussing strategies and sharing stories that painted the painful picture of what they were facing. Each story fueled their resolve. "I'll talk to the local newspaper," Mrs. Johnson volunteered. "We need the public on our side." "We can make signs, hold a protest," suggested another voice, a young girl named Mia. "They can't ignore us if we make a lot of noise." Excitement blazed as ideas flew back and forth. The community was coming together, and so many were finally finding their voices. Inspiration hung thick in the air, but just as the adrenaline hit its peak, a chilling thought lurked in Tyler's mind. What would it take to get them to truly listen? The stakes were high, and they were fighting a battle for not just themselves, but for future generations who want the same memories etched into their homes. Suddenly, the door swung open again, but this time it was a different man stepping inside. He wore a suit, his expression unreadable. Tyler instinctively tensed. Was he here for the meeting? Or was he one of them, sent to quash their spirit? The room fell silent, every head turning. Claire stepped forward, her bravery flickering like a fragile candle in the wind. "Can we help you?" The man surveyed them, the tension thick enough to cut. "I'm here for the property developers," he announced, a sly smile creeping across his lips. "And I think it's time we had a little chat about your tactics." The air shifted, a hush replaced the energized flurry of ideas. Tyler's heart sank. What did this mean? Were they ready for this confrontation? He exchanged nervous glances with Claire, his mind racing. This wasn't just going to be a fight for their homes, it was going to be a battle of wills with a higher power. Would their community stand strong against this looming threat? Or would they crumble under the weight of the stakes? As that unsettling thought loomed over Tyler's heart, he realized the true test was about to begin. The air in the community center crackled with a tense energy as Tyler stared at the man who had just walked in. His suit was immaculate, and his demeanor screamed that he belonged to a world entirely separate from theirs, a world that saw houses as mere assets. The room that had been filled with hope and determination now felt like it was sinking under the weight of uncertainty. "Who are you?" Claire asked, her voice steady though laced with defiance. Tyler felt his pulse quicken as the man crossed his arms, a smug smile barely hidden behind his steely demeanor. "I'm here to discuss your little protest," he said, each word dripping with condescension. "You should know that fighting against progress is futile. We can't let sentimentality hold back progress." "Progress?" Tyler repeated, his voice rising with indignation. "You mean tearing down homes that are filled with lives and memories?" The man regarded him coolly. "I mean building luxury apartments that will enrich the neighborhood's value. You have to understand, it's business." As Tyler opened his mouth to respond, the crowd behind him surged, each neighbor buzzing with whispers of resentment. Mrs. Johnson stepped forward, her eyes narrow with resolve. "And what does our home mean to you? Just another line on a balance sheet?" "Exactly," the man retorted, glancing around the gathering. "Their lives don't matter in this equation. The only thing that matters is profit. And that's how it is." Emma held Lila closer, and Tyler felt her tension radiate through the air. In that moment, he sensed a turning point. He thought of everything they had fought for, the late nights spent strategizing, the laughter shared amidst the looming fear of losing their homes. Suddenly, defiance bubbled up inside of him, igniting his voice. "You've got that wrong," he shouted, taking a step forward. Every eye in the room followed him, shock etching into their expressions as he pressed on. "What you don't understand is that we are more than outlines on your business maps. These homes represent countless histories, families, and dreams. You rely on money while we live on the love that fills our spaces." As Tyler continued, he could see the faces of his neighbors slowly lighting up with pride and support. "We're not just going to let you decimate our lives for your profit. Understand this, we will fight back, together." The tension in the room shifted, light shooting through the shadows of despondency. Lila's innocent cheer broke through the moment as she shouted, "Yeah. We want to keep our home." Even the man in the suit faltered, a momentary frown tugging at his lips as he realized that they were dealing with more than just a crowd of unhappy neighbors. They were facing a community that had become unified in purpose. Claire took advantage of the shift. "We're not looking for a fight, but we won't back down either. We'll rally together, get the media involved, and bring awareness to this cause. You can try to intimidate us, but we stand strong with our history." The man straightened, and resentment stole across his face. "A futile effort. I suggest you save your breath for when the inevitable happens. Maybe you should save your breath for when you hear that an entire community won't be crushed without a fight." Tyler shot back, fueled by adrenaline. Though their hearts trembled with fear, their resolve burned fiercely. As the man finally scoffed and turned to leave, Tyler felt a rush of release. He met Claire's gaze, a smile creeping onto her face. They had managed to challenge the forces that threatened their everyday lives. That night, as they pored over plans for their protest, something changed in the air. The fear that had weighed on them lifted, replaced with the powerful realization that they were more than just individuals, they were a community. United, they would push back against any threat that came their way. Tyler looked at his family, holding Lila's small hand and Emma's steady gaze. He felt a surge of gratitude. They weren't just fighting for a place to live, they were fighting for a home built on love, memories, and community ties that would never break. The next day dawned, and hope surged as they made their way to the protest. Together, they held up banners, their voices rising against the backdrop of the city. Lila's laughter rang out amidst the calls for unity, giving strength to everyone around her. And as Tyler looked at the crowd, the faces of friends and neighbors standing side by side for something they all believed in, he knew that they would win this fight. No matter what obstacles lay ahead, their love and determination would shine through. The chant of Save Our Home echoed down the streets, an anthem of hope that rattled the hearts of all who heard. As the winds of change began to turn, Tyler felt a rush of gratitude for the people beside him. They had transformed from disparate individuals into a sturdy wall of solidarity. This was just the beginning. They wouldn't just save their homes, they'd redefine what family, community, and belonging truly meant. And through it all, they knew that together, they could withstand anything. Now is the time to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the positivity flowing. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to help us spread the message of unity and hope.